I've always been the kind of person who notices things. Small details. Shifts in tone. The way someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. My therapist once told me it was hypervigilance, a survival mechanism from childhood. I called it pattern recognition. Either way, I prided myself on being observant. On being the one who could read a room. So when I finally discovered the truth, the thing that destroyed me wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that everyone else had known. For years. And they had all decided, collectively, that I was better off living inside a lie. Started the way these things always start, with a feeling I couldn't name. A sense that something was slightly off, like a picture frame hanging at an imperceptible angle. Nothing you could point to directly, but enough to make you uncomfortable if you stared at it too long. My wife Sarah and I had been married for 8 years. Good years, or so I thought. We had the kind of relationship people envied. Easy conversation. Shared interests, mutual respect. We hosted dinner parties where our friends would say things like, "You two are relationship goals?" And we would smile and deflect, but privately I agreed. We had built something solid. Or at least I thought we had. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. I came home early from work, a rare occurrence, since I usually stayed late to finish projects. Sarah wasn't expecting me. I walked into our apartment and heard her voice from the bedroom, speaking quietly on the phone. "I know," she was saying, "but I can't tell him. Not yet. He's not ready." I stood in the hallway, frozen. There was something in her tone. Not guilt exactly, but careful concealment. The voice of someone protecting a secret. When she emerged a few minutes later, she seemed genuinely surprised to see me. "You're home early. Who were you talking to?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "My sister. Just catching up." She smiled, but it was the wrong smile. Too bright. Too quick. "Is everything okay?" Of course. Why wouldn't it be? I wanted to push. I wanted to ask what she couldn't tell me, what I wasn't ready for. But I had learned long ago that direct confrontation often yielded less truth than patient observation. So I said nothing. I filed the moment away and waited. The second crack appeared 2 weeks later. We were at a dinner party at our friend's house, Marcus and Jennifer, a couple we'd known since college. The evening was typical. Wine, laughter, stories we'd all heard before. But at one point, I caught Marcus giving Sarah a look. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A look that said, "Be careful." Sarah's response was equally subtle. A slight shake of her head. A redirection of conversation. I spent the rest of the evening watching them. Watching everyone, actually. And I started to notice things. The way Jennifer squeezed Sarah's hand when they thought I wasn't looking. The way Marcus changed the subject when I mentioned future plans. The way everyone seemed slightly too cheerful, as if they were performing normalcy rather than experiencing it. I drove home in silence that night. Sarah asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. Another lie to add to whatever collection was building between us. "Marcus seemed off tonight," I said casually. "Did he?" "I didn't notice." "He kept looking at you strangely." She laughed. "You're imagining things." But I wasn't, and we both knew it. The third crack appeared a month later, and this one I couldn't ignore. I was looking for a document on Sarah's laptop. She'd said I could use it while mine was being repaired. I wasn't snooping. At least that's what I told myself. But when I opened her email to find something she'd mentioned, I saw a thread I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "What do we tell him?" My hands were shaking as I clicked it open. The email chain included Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer, and 3 other close friends. The most recent message, from Jennifer, read, "I still think we should tell him. It's been too long. He deserves to know." Marcus had replied, "Sarah's right. If we tell him now, it'll destroy everything. Better to wait until he figures it out on his own." And Sarah's response, "He won't figure it out. He trusts us. That's the problem." I read the thread 3 times. Then I closed the laptop and sat in our living room, staring at nothing. They were talking about me. All of them. Discussing whether to tell me something. Deciding collectively that I was too fragile, too trusting, too naive to handle whatever truth they were protecting me from. And the worst part was Sarah's final line. Asterisk, he trusts us. That's the problem. Asterisk. My trust wasn't a strength. It was a flaw. Something to be managed, manipulated, worked around. I didn't confront Sarah that day. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I did what I always did. I observed. I started paying closer attention to conversations, to the spaces between words, to the looks people exchanged when they thought I wasn't watching. And I realized something horrifying. This had been going on for years. The careful management of my perception. The collective decision to keep me in the dark. Everyone I trusted, everyone I thought cared about me, had been part of a conspiracy of silence. The hardest part about suspecting you're being lied to is that you start questioning everything. Every smile becomes potentially false. Every reassurance becomes suspicious. Every "I love you" might be a performance. I spent the next 3 weeks in a state of constant analysis. I started keeping notes, times, dates, conversations, inconsistencies. I felt insane doing it, but I couldn't stop. I needed evidence. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. The notes revealed patterns. Sarah's phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room. Plans that changed without explanation. Conversations with friends that felt rehearsed, as if everyone had agreed on a script before I arrived. One night, I tested them. We were having drinks with Marcus and Jennifer, and I mentioned casually that I was thinking about changing jobs. It wasn't true, but I wanted to see how they'd react. The reaction was immediate and coordinated. Sarah's hand on my arm. Marcus's quick pivot to another topic. Jennifer's overly enthusiastic support that felt hollow. "That's great," Jennifer said, too brightly. "What kind of change are you thinking about?" "I don't know yet. Just feeling restless." The look that passed between the three of them lasted less than a second, but I caught it. Said asterisk, "This is about that." He's starting to sense something. Asterisk. "You've been at your company for 6 years, Marcus said carefully. "It makes sense you'd want something new." But his tone said something else. Said, asterisk, "Don't push this. Don't rock the boat. Stay where you are." Asterisk. I excused myself to go to the bathroom. As I walked away, I heard Sarah's voice drop to a whisper. I couldn't make out the words, but I didn't need to. I knew they were talking about me, recalibrating their approach, making sure their story stayed consistent. When I returned, everyone was smiling. The conversation had shifted to something safe. A movie they'd all seen, plans for an upcoming holiday. I played along. I smiled. I laughed at the right moments, and I felt completely alone. That night, Sarah fell asleep quickly. I lay awake beside her, studying her face in the darkness. She looked peaceful, innocent. I wanted to wake her up and demand the truth. I wanted to scream. Asterisk, "What are you hiding from me? Why do you all think I'm too weak to know?" Asterisk. But I didn't, because part of me was terrified of the answer. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later in the most mundane way possible. I was at the grocery store when I ran into Jennifer. She was alone, without Marcus, without Sarah to coordinate with. "Hey," she said, looking genuinely surprised to see me. "Doing the shopping?" "Yeah. Sarah's working late." "Right. Of course." Something flickered across her face. "Listen, can we talk for a second?" My heart started racing. "Sure." We moved to a quieter corner of the store. Jennifer looked uncomfortable, like she was about to do something she'd been told not to do. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "And I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I can't keep watching this happen." "Watching what happen?" She took a deep breath. "Sarah's been lying to you. We've all been lying to you. For 3 years. The world tilted slightly. "About what?" "Your mother."
Esther here.
"My mother. She's not dead, Daniel. She's alive. She's been alive this whole time." The grocery store sounds faded to white noise. My mother had died 5 years ago. Cancer. I'd been at her bedside. I'd delivered the eulogy at her funeral. I'd scattered her ashes in the ocean, the way she'd wanted. "That's not possible," I said. "I was there. I saw her." You saw someone, Jennifer interrupted. But it wasn't your mother. That woman who died. She was a friend of your mother's. Someone who looked enough like her that, from a distance, in a hospital bed, you wouldn't question it. My legs felt weak. Why would... I don't understand. Your mother didn't want to see you. After the diagnosis, she decided she didn't want you to watch her deteriorate. She wanted you to remember her healthy. So she asked Sarah to help her stage her death. The pieces started falling into place with sickening clarity. Sarah's sudden closeness with my mother near the end. The closed casket I'd been told was my mother's wish. The way everyone had rallied around me, supporting me through my grief. Grief for a death that never happened. Where is she? I asked, my voice barely audible. A care facility upstate. Sarah's been visiting her. We all have. Everyone except you. The betrayal hit me in waves. My wife, my friends, my entire support system had been part of an elaborate lie. For 3 years, they had watched me grieve a death that was fiction. They had attended a funeral for a stranger and said nothing. They had let me believe I was an orphan. Sarah said your mother made her promise, Jennifer continued, that she couldn't tell you unless you figured it out on your own. And when it became clear you weren't going to figure it out, we all agreed to keep the secret. We thought we were protecting you, protecting your mother's wishes. You had no right, I said, and my voice was shaking now. None of you had the right to make that decision for me. I know. I'm sorry. I've been saying we should tell you for over a year now, but Sarah kept insisting. I need the address. Jennifer hesitated. Daniel, give me the fucking address, Jennifer. She pulled out her phone and sent me the information. Then she put her hand on my arm.
I'm sorry.
We thought we were doing the right thing. I pulled away from her. You weren't. I left my cart in the middle of the aisle and walked out of the store. I drove to the care facility in a state of shock. It was an hour outside the city. A beautiful property surrounded by trees and gardens. The kind of place that cost a fortune, which explained where some of our savings had been disappearing to. I walked into the reception area and gave my mother's name. The woman at the desk smiled warmly. Oh, you must be here for visiting hours. She'll be so happy to see. She stopped, studying my face more closely. I'm sorry, have we met? I don't recognize you from the usual visitors. I'm her son. The color drained from her face. Her son. Oh my, let me just call the supervisor. That won't be necessary. What room is she in? Sir, I think we should. What room? She gave me the number. I found my mother sitting in a sunlit room, reading a book. She looked thinner than I remembered, her hair completely white now, but she was unmistakably alive. Unmistakably her. She looked up when I entered, and the book fell from her hands. Daniel, she whispered. I stood in the doorway, unable to move, unable to speak. 1,000 questions fought for space in my mind, but all that came out was, why? Her eyes filled with tears. Oh, sweetheart, you weren't supposed to find out. You let me think you were dead. For 3 years. I grieved for you. I stood at a grave that wasn't even yours and mourned someone who was alive. I know, and I'm so sorry, but I couldn't let you watch me like this. She gestured to herself, to the medical equipment partially hidden in the corner, to the frailty that had replaced the strong woman I remembered. This isn't how I wanted you to remember me. So you faked your death instead? You convinced my wife to lie to me? You let everyone I trust become part of a conspiracy. I thought it would be easier for you. Easier. I was shouting now. You thought it would be easier for me to lose my mother than to help take care of her? You thought I was so weak that I couldn't handle seeing you sick. That's not what I thought. Then what? What could possibly justify this? She was crying openly now. I was ashamed. I didn't want you to see me deteriorate. I didn't want to burden you with my care. And by the time I realized it was a mistake, it was too late. You had already grieved. You had already moved on. Telling you the truth would have been cruel. And lying to me for 3 years wasn't? We sat in heavy silence. I looked around the room and noticed details I'd been too shocked to register before. Photos on the wall. Recent photos. Of Sarah. Of Marcus and Jennifer. Of my friends visiting my mother. Smiling beside her. Creating memories I'd been deliberately excluded from. They've all been here, I said quietly. Everyone but me. Sarah visits twice a month. She updates me on your life. Shows me photos. I know about your promotion. About the trip you took to Portland. About the kitchen renovation. Her voice broke. I've been watching your life from a distance. Like a ghost haunting my own son. You don't get to play the victim here, I said. This was your choice. You chose to disappear. You chose to make everyone I love lie to me. I know, and I've regretted it every single day. But I didn't know how to come back from it. The lie became too big. I stood up to leave. I couldn't be in that room anymore. Looking at this woman who was my mother, but also a stranger who had orchestrated my pain. Daniel, please. I need time, I said. I need to process this. All of this. Will you come back? I didn't answer. I walked out of the care facility and sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to remember how to breathe. When I finally got home, Sarah was there. She knew immediately that I knew. It was written all over my face. Jennifer told you, she said quietly. Yes.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to tell you so many times. But you didn't. For 3 years, you looked me in the eye and maintained a lie. You went to visit my supposedly dead mother and came home and kissed me and asked about my day like nothing was wrong. Your mother made me promise. I don't care what she made you promise. I was yelling now, and I almost never yelled. She's not your mother. I'm your husband. Your loyalty was supposed to be to me. I thought I was protecting you. Everyone keeps saying that. Everyone keeps talking about protecting me, like I'm a child who can't handle reality. But you know what's actually destroyed me? Not my mother's illness. Not even her wanting to die privately. It's the fact that every single person I trusted decided I was too fragile for the truth. Sarah was crying. I know. You're right. We were wrong. I was wrong. You made me grieve a death that didn't happen. Do you understand how fucked up that is? I went to therapy for 6 months to deal with losing her. I reorganized my entire life around being an orphan. And all of you just watched. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. I grabbed a bag and started throwing clothes into it. Sarah watched, not trying to stop me. Where are you going? She asked. I don't know. Somewhere where people don't lie to me for years and call it love. I stayed in a hotel for a week. I turned off my phone. I didn't respond to Sarah's messages, to Marcus's calls, to Jennifer's apologies. I needed silence. I needed to sort through the wreckage of my life without anyone trying to explain or justify or ask for forgiveness they hadn't earned. The thing about discovering a lie that big is that it doesn't just destroy the lie. It destroys your ability to trust your own perception. If I couldn't see that my mother was alive, what else was I missing? If Sarah could lie to my face for 3 years, who was she really? If my closest friends could participate in a conspiracy against me, what did friendship even mean? I spent hours replaying memories, looking for signs I should have caught. The time Sarah came home from book club, looking emotionally exhausted. The way Marcus changed the subject whenever I talked about my mother. Jennifer's guilty expressions that I'd attributed to awkwardness rather than complicity. The signs had been there. I just hadn't been looking for them, because I trusted them. On day 8, I turned my phone back on. There were 37 missed calls. Dozens of messages. Most from Sarah, but also from my mother's care facility, from Jennifer, from Marcus. I ignored all of them except one. It was from my mother. Please come back. Let me try to explain. I drove back to the care facility the next morning. My mother was sitting in the same chair, looking like she'd been waiting for me. Like she'd been sitting there for 9 days, hoping I'd return. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I sat across from her, maintaining distance. I'm not here to forgive you. I'm here because I need to understand. She nodded. Ask me anything. Did you ever consider what this would do to me? Or was your comfort more important than my reality? She flinched but didn't look away. I considered it. I thought about it constantly. But I convinced myself that you'd be better off with a clean break. That mourning me and moving on would be healthier than years of watching me decline, of rearranging your life around my illness, of becoming a caretaker instead of my son. That wasn't your decision to make. I know that now, but at the time I thought I was giving you a gift. Freedom from obligation. A chance to remember me as I was. You didn't give me freedom. You gave me trauma. I spent 6 months in therapy trying to accept that you were gone. I had panic attacks in grocery stores because I kept thinking I saw you. I couldn't sleep for weeks after the funeral. Tears were streaming down her face now. I didn't know. Sarah told me you were handling it well, that you were strong. Sarah lied to protect you from the consequences of your decision. Just like she lied to me. Don't blame her too much. I was very convincing. I made her believe this was what you needed. How did you even do it? I asked. The funeral, the death certificate, all of it. She took a shaky breath. I had help. A friend from my support group, Margaret. She was dying, no family, no one to claim her body. We looked similar enough. And I still had connections from my old job at the hospital. It wasn't legal what we did. But we did it. The casualness with which she explained the fraud made it worse somehow. So Margaret is in the grave I've been visiting. Yes. And you've been here. Alive. Getting better. Not better. Managed. The cancer is terminal, Daniel. It was always terminal. I'm not in remission. I'm just in a very expensive hospice. Living on borrowed time. This information should have devastated me. But I was too numb to feel anything. How long? They say 6 months. Maybe a year if I'm lucky. So I'm going to lose you again. For real this time. Yes. We sat in silence. Outside, I could hear birds singing, utterly indifferent to the destruction happening in this room. I don't know if I can forgive this, I said finally. I don't expect you to, but I'm asking for a chance. Whatever time I have left, let me try to be your mother again. Not the version who protected you by lying, but the real me. Flawed, dying, but honest. And Sarah? That's between you and her. But I will say this, she fought for you. When I first suggested this plan, she refused. She said it was cruel. But I wore her down. I made her believe it was the compassionate choice. If you're going to hate anyone, hate me. I have enough hate for both of you. She nodded, accepting this. Will you come back? Even if you're angry, even if you hate me, will you let me see you again before I die? I looked at this woman who was my mother and also a stranger, who had caused me immeasurable pain in a misguided attempt to spare me different pain, who had stolen 3 years we could have had together. I don't know, I said honestly, but I came back. Not the next day or the day after, but eventually I came back. Rebuilding trust after betrayal isn't a straight line. It's not a decision you make once and commit to. It's a choice you make every single day, and some days you choose wrong. I started visiting my mother twice a week. The conversations were awkward at first, stilted, full of the weight of everything unsaid. But slowly, we found our way back to something that resembled a relationship. Not the one we'd had before, that was gone forever, but something new, something more honest. She told me about her illness in detail this time, the treatments she'd tried and abandoned, the pain management that sometimes worked and often didn't, the fear that woke her up at 3 in the morning, certain this would be her last night. And I told her about the damage her lie had caused, the therapy bills, the trust issues that bled into every relationship, the way I now questioned everything, looking for hidden agendas in innocent conversations. I turned you into someone who sees conspiracies everywhere, she said one afternoon. Someone who can't take anything at face value. Yes, I agreed. You did. I'm sorry doesn't feel like enough. It's not, but it's a start. Sarah was a different story. She moved out of our apartment 3 weeks after the truth came out, giving me space to process. We talked occasionally, logistics mostly, but sometimes deeper. She wanted to reconcile. I wasn't sure if I wanted to try. I love you, she said during one of our meetings. I know I betrayed that love, but it's still true. Love isn't enough, I said. Love plus lies is just manipulation. I know. But love plus accountability might be something we could build on. She started going to therapy, individual sessions to understand why she'd been willing to maintain such a massive deception. Couples therapy, which I attended reluctantly, where we excavated the wreckage of our marriage piece by piece. The therapist asked me in one session, "What would Sarah need to do for you to trust her again?" I thought about it for a long time. I don't know if I can trust her again, but I could learn to build a new relationship with someone who happened to be named Sarah. Someone who understood that radical honesty was now the minimum requirement. Can you live with that uncertainty? The therapist asked. I don't have a choice. Certainty is a lie I don't believe in anymore. My mother died 7 months after I found out she was alive. Real death this time, not performance. I was there, holding her hand, watching her breathe her last breath. No substitutes. No deceptions. Just the brutal, honest reality of loss. At her actual funeral, the one I organized, the one where only the truth was told, I delivered a eulogy about lies and love and the complicated way they intertwine. About how even terrible decisions can come from real love. About how forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and healing doesn't mean pretending the wound never happened. Sarah came to the funeral. We sat together but didn't touch. After everyone left, we stood at the grave, the real one this time. I'm sorry, she said, for all of it. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. I know you are, I said. And I'm sorry too, for not being someone people felt they could tell the truth to. That's not your fault. Maybe not, but I've been thinking about why everyone decided I couldn't handle it. And I think maybe I gave off the impression that I needed protecting, that I was fragile, that the truth would break me. You're not fragile. No. But I was naive. I trusted too easily. I assumed people's surface presentation was the whole truth. I've learned better now. Is that a good thing? Learning not to trust. I thought about it. I don't know, but it's real. And real is all I have now. We left the cemetery together, but went to separate cars. I wasn't ready to go home to her. Maybe I never would be. But we kept talking, kept trying, kept showing up to therapy and having hard conversations and slowly, painfully, building something new from the ruins of what we'd been. Some days I thought we might make it. Other days I was certain we wouldn't. But I'd learned that certainty was an illusion anyway. All you had was today's choice, today's truth, today's small act of courage in the face of fear. My mother's last words to me were, "Tell the truth, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's how you honor people. That's how you love them." I think about that often now. About how the people in my life thought they were loving me by lying. And about how that kind of love almost destroyed me. These days I tell the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it might hurt someone's feelings. Even when a lie would be easier. Because I learned the hard way that easy lies become hard truths eventually. And when they do, they take everything with them. Everyone knew, except me, and that was the plan. But I know now, and knowing, even when it's painful, even when it shatters everything you thought was solid, is better than living inside a beautiful lie. Not easier, but better. And in the end, that has to be enough.